Moving on to August, which, as I indicated earlier, was Magical Readathon month. Most of the books I read that month were for Magical Readathon, but I also read some outside of that, just because I wanted to read some of these books. And let's just get these first four out of the way, even though they're not necessarily in the order in which I read them. But so I read 4 of the Buffy comics. Yeah, I read Volume 3 of Buffy, Volume 2 of Angel, the Hellmouth events of Buffy and Angel, and then the second half of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Chosen Ones. My opinion about this series, I don't know. I want to love this. I want to love this because I love Buffy, but on the other hand, it's just okay for me, I think. I think that probably I won't even need to get these physically anymore from now on. I can just like read them on script because they're not really doing it for me, which is very sad to say, because I really hoped, like, I love the TV show Buffy. You don't end up with a cat called Buffy and a cat called Fate if you don't love the TV show Buffy. But this year, I don't know, there's just something missing, you know. It's just, it's not the same thing. So yeah, unfortunately, this is so far not really a success. I could of course just DNF the series as well, but it's also maybe just an easy series to continue for like readathons like this, because they're like short and quick to get through. So in between, I was also reading for the Camp Enchanted readathon, and so for that one I read the book, which is Lumberjanes Volume 1, Beware the Kitten Holly. So this is a comic book that is all about kind of like a camp environment. We're following like 5 girls, I think, on camp, and it's just like their adventures. It was okay to go through, but I don't think I will be continuing with this unless like next Camp Enchanted we read Volume 2, for example. Like, I don't mind continuing on with it, but it's also like, unfortunately, the Buffy comics is not really doing anything for me. Then I listened to Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree, which is a very fun, cozy fantasy. Like, I don't think this is anything spectacular, but that's also just because I don't think cozy fantasy is sort of like my favorite thing in the whole world. But I definitely think that it fits the mood, you know. This is the type of book that will be like, sometimes you just want something like this, and then it absolutely works for that. It's just never gonna be like one of those books for me that like stands out, but it definitely has all of the vibes going for it. You know, it's about a orc, I believe she is, who used to be a mercenary, but basically has kind of been saving up all of her professional career in order to be able to retire early and change careers and become the owner of a coffee shop, because coffee is a beverage that she encountered along her travels. And so she ends her career, she moves over to this small town, and she tries to start a coffee business. There are some stakes, because there are definitely people working against her within the town, as well as some people from her mercenary past who who are kind of jealous, let's say, of her situation in life at this point in time, or unhappy about how she left them, thinking that, you know, they were like a tight-knit group before that. But so yeah, fun time with that. You know, you've got coffee, baking, career relationship within this story, so what's not to love? And then we get to my surprise for this month, and a book that I have ordered a special edition of after having finished it. The edition is not yet here, I don't know when it will actually arrive here, but that is Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. So this is her adult debut. I have been interested in Chloe Gong before, but because her previous series has been YA, I haven't wanted to dive in because I felt like I would probably not get along with it, though the concept always sounded interesting to me, and that's especially also the case for this one. So in this one we are looking at a world where basically there is this competition that takes place, I guess it's every year, Basically, it's a sort of Hunger Games type competition in which basically you're fighting until only one is left standing. However, in this case, you enter voluntarily, and it is not taking place within a fixed arena away from the masses, for example. It is taking place on the streets of the city, so spectators are moving about in amongst the competitors. And what is very interesting about this world is that there is also this sort of ability to body hop. Now, the body hopping power definitely creates some very dark and dubious circumstances, because the body hopping is not done with permission, you know. You basically force somebody out of their body, and if you later jump into your own body again or another body, then that person is back into, then that person can take control of their own body again. However, if you hop out at the moment in which they're dying, considering this competition setting, then this person will die instead of the body hopper. And so obviously this is a very risky, dangerous game. The reason why people love it is because of those reasons probably, but also like there are cases of people basically lingering around the competition in order to have their body snatched, because then there will be a compensation paid out to their families, for example. So this is a sort of city noir setting where people are very, very poor. This is the entertainment that kind of gets them through the day, and this is the compensation that some of these people need in order to survive. And in this setting comes two characters. So one of them being, I don't even know what his past is anymore, but that's how much I love this book. I don't remember the guy's past, but so we have a past princess who is in hiding. Everybody thinks that she's passed away, who enters this competition because it is her one opportunity to get in front of the king again. The king basically since decades has not come out anymore, and the only time that he makes an appearance is at the end of this festival to greet the winner. So she wants to be the winner in order to be able to kill him. She is being helped behind the scenes by a guy at court. However, her big competition is this other guy who I've forgotten what his backstory is. And between two of these, a enemies to lovers relationships unfurls. I really enjoyed this one a whole lot. I was so invested in the world, the story, the relationship. Yes, is this romance heavy? To some extent, yes, because as I kind of indicated of this enemies to lovers type of storyline, but on the other hand, I feel like there's so much other stuff going on that it's not like the point of this story is not to get these two characters together, even though I at times felt like that was the point for me in terms of my level of investment. But in any case, I really liked it. I liked the ending as well, though I'm a bit confused by the ending as well. So I'm looking forward to book number 2. This also had a twist that I probably should have seen coming, but did not see coming. And that doesn't happen to me all that often anymore. Next up, I read a manga called The Masterful Cat is Depressed Again Today, story and art by Hitsuzi Yamada. This, I do want to read more of them. Like Legends and Latte, this is not a thing that I'm gonna like praise to the skies or remember like for years to come, but it is a fun thing to consume. So this is a story about this girl who basically has a cat at home who's like taller than her, and basically the girl is kind of the sort of like irresponsible, lazy, cluttery type of character, and the cat is basically the one that's doing all the household work and keeping her fed and organized, and you know, it's just about some fun situations that arise, because of course people they don't know, like they wouldn't be okay with a giant cat just walking around, though there are instances in this book where that turns out to be the case. Next up, I read another short story collection, and now I'm confused about whether everything I said about terminal boredom was actually about this story collection. Possibly. I just shouldn't read short story collections, it's clear now, but like Terminal Boredom I read because I've heard really good things about that short story collection, and now I think I actually kind of remember some like vague, there's a vague concept coming into my mind, but I just cannot like fully grasp it. So indeed, the things that I was saying was actually about this collection, which is 19 Claws and a Blackbird by Agostina Basterica. Agostina Basterica is the author of Tender is the Flesh, which was one of my favorite books last year? The year before? Last year, right? Or my favorite book last year. And this one is dark, weird, absurd in times, but it's a short story collection, so there are some stories that work really well and there's others that's just like meh. So I gave this one a higher rating. This is like a 3.75, but as indicated, I don't really remember any of these stories, but Agostina Basterica is coming out with a new book in Spanish, which I'm hoping to get my hands on and read in the actual Spanish before the translation comes out into English, so I'm looking forward to that. And then I had to catch up to Kushiel's Scion. So this is the first book in the Imriel trilogy in the Kushiel universe by Jacqueline Carey. So this is trilogy number 2, let's say. It's definitely to be read in order, I would say, because we are basically following now as a protagonist a character that we meet in the 3rd book in the original trilogy. And I didn't like it as much as I enjoyed the first trilogy, I gotta say. And I think I'm alone in terms of like the read-along for that, because this is a book that I'm reading in terms of a read-along that I'm co-hosting with Sarah from Voyage Through Words and Jolene from Jolene Reads. And this one, I don't know, it just, there were more pacing issues with it in my opinion. Like, I feel like there are always kind of pacing issues in the sense that there's a lull at the beginning and then there was this huge explosion in all previous books for me, and then there's a lull towards the end. But I feel like we didn't get that explosion this time around. There were points in the book in which I was more interested than other points, but there wasn't any point in this book in which I was just like dying to turn the pages around and couldn't wait to find out what happened next. So unfortunately this one for me wasn't as much of a success. I'm hoping that this will change in the 2nd book in this trilogy. In any case, there is also a 3rd trilogy which we're going to be looking at even another character, so I will definitely still be continuing on with this read along, and it's not like I struggled immensely to get through this book neither, but yeah, there definitely was sort of like, it definitely wasn't as, it definitely didn't suit me as well as the first trilogy had. Then we have Days at the Morisaki Bookshop by Satoshi Yagisawa. So this is a book translated from Japanese, and I will say that for me personally this book doesn't really have much to offer. It's very much like, it's not groundbreaking, it's not anything special, but that might just be because I've read so much Japanese literature that to me this one falls in exactly with what I expect from a Japanese book, and so it's nice while reading it, but it wasn't like exceptional compared to any of the other Japanese books that I've read. So in this one we're looking at this girl who basically is... So in this one we're looking at this girl who's just been dumped, and she's kind of recovering by spending some time working in her uncle's second-hand bookshop. The most shocking thing about this book for me was finding out that our protagonist does not like books at the beginning, so her opinion will kind of change throughout this book. And there were definitely some lovely quotes in this book as well, and like any Japanese books, this stays relatively slice of life, more like narrow focus, not wide scope. And yeah, it was nice, it was cozy, but I've read better. Then we get to my 5-star read for the month, which is Ship of Destiny by Robin Hobb. Though I gotta say, did I give Immortal Longings a 5-star in the end? Well, I gave it a very low rating. I have to change that rating. I gave it under 4. I have to, like, why did I give it under 4? I really love that one. Maybe I, like, cause maybe I let my brain do the rating there, whereas my heart would say it can be a 5. I was really, really engrossed in that. But so, Ship of Destiny, the third book in the Live Ship Trader series, was a 5-star for me, and so every book in this series has now been a 5-star for me. I really, really love the Live Ship Trader series. Cannot go into much here, of course, because of it being a third book in a series. So in the Live Ship Trader series, we're basically following a bunch of characters, all linked to the concept of live ships. And live ships are basically ships where 3 generations of their captains have died aboard the ship. Now, there is a controversial choice in book 3 of Live Ship Traders, and I'm not I won't say like I loved this trope or this plot twist or whatever. I can see what the author did there and like appreciate how she executed it. Could she have left it out and I would have been happy? Yes, especially since this is my favorite character and I don't want to see my favorite character suffer. On the other hand, it's a Robin Hobb book, so definitely characters are suffering. But yeah, that was like the one moment in which I was like, what? No, because basically on Discord I was saying like, I'm very happy that like we didn't go there. Clearly this was written by a woman, and then we did go there. And then I was like, what? But so this is a plot twist that definitely a lot of people are not really in favor of. And yeah, I'm not gonna make a statement about whether I was in favor of it or not, because I don't know whether I was in favor of it. You know, I just feel like in the end I could come to terms with what she had done with it. But the book as a whole, probably my least favorite of the Live Ship trilogy, but also still a 5-star. And the fact that Robin Hobb took a character that I really didn't want chapters from in book 1, and by book 3 I'm just waiting for their chapters. Perfection. Next up, I DNF'd the book. I DNF'd The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan, which was supposed to be my court book. I'm not even sure whether in the end it has court setting or not, but this did not work for me. And the reason why is because I thought that The Justice of Kings was taking place in court all the time, like in a royal palace, and you had just like this justice residing there, and we would just be following his cases and kind of like the machinations at court. But it's very much, it has a heavy mystery thriller detective trope going on. It's a traveling justice, and they arrive in this small town where he has this case that he has to kind of solve. What I liked in the section that I did read, I read like the first 8 chapters, was the information we got about his sort of like powers. So he has this sort of like power in his voice that can kind of command people to answer him, for example. And so that I liked, seeing sort of these types of things, and I could have gotten to love the main character, though I didn't know her long enough to be able to do that. But yeah, I just really don't care about detective type stories, and so with those types of stories I don't take in any information about the characters. And so in this case that was also happening. I wasn't paying attention to who had died, what their relationship was with whichever characters we were being introduced to. So I was basically just reading for no reason. So because of my classes that I still needed to make, I needed a replacement book. So I chose The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang, I think is the name. Yes, so this is a graphic novel about a dressmaker who basically kind of becomes a personal assistant to the prince because the prince likes to dress up as a girl. I thought it was very cozy, very heartwarming, lovely little story. So perfect little thing to consume if you can get it from like a library or something, for example. And then the final book that I finished in the month of August is Destiny of the Dead by Kel Kate, the sequel to Fate of the Fall, which was mentioned earlier for the month of July. This is a book that I was gifted by Tufty. It's thank you very much for this book. And unfortunately, I don't like it as much as I liked the first book. I don't know what's missing in this one for me. I think some of that sort of like lightheartedness of the first novel, I feel like there's less of that in this one. Like it all goes a little bit more darker. There's a lot more sort of, there's also, what also didn't work here for me is we're introducing a sort of like second perspective that took me very long to care about, because it took very long for her to be integrated in the other storyline. And so you're kind of like, for a long time being like, why should I care about this character? Like, yes, I understand that most likely she will become part of our protagonist storyline at some point, but like, why would I care about her now? And so yeah, it just didn't work all that well for me, unfortunately. So yeah, it is a little bit of a disappointment. I cannot even really say that I know very well what ended up taking place in here anymore, because at some point I just kind of lost attention, because also what we see here is the crew that we originally assemble in book 1 kind of starts to fall apart, and some characters are in different places at certain points in time within the story, kind of like we have in Lord of the Rings in like the second movie, The Two Towers, where our characters are in different places taking on their own paths, and that definitely can work. It works, for example, in Live Ship Traders as well, very well by the way there, but here I was just like missing the interaction that was created between some of these characters as a consequence of this dismemberment of the group, I guess. So yeah, I was left being a little bit disappointed in this one. But I have also started at the end of August with an actual finish of the book in the month of September only, my reread for Kingstar Tidings series by Kel Kate, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing that and hopefully having a great time with all of those. But so, that's all I read in July and August. The numbers will have gone down now, and I will allow them to climb now. I don't fully know for sure where I actually landed, but I think I landed at 35. And so yeah, that ain't great. Like my month of July didn't really work out in terms of like reading enough of my own books, because I was just like letting others decide what I was reading, and that didn't often coincide with what I actually had on my shelves. But then the month of August, because of Magical Readathon, also had a lot of cases where I was taking books that I you know, didn't necessarily own before the month, or books that, you know, I was just like filling in with page lengths that I had available to me through scripts or things like that. So yeah, both months I kind of bought a lot and didn't read enough. So I mean, I read a lot, but didn't read enough of the books that I actually physically own. So let's see if we can change that in the month of September. We are definitely ambitious when it comes to that for September, and so far I can tell you it's the middle of September and we have not managed to fulfill those ambitions. So let's check back again at the end of September to see where we are with that in terms of the amount of books that I still have on there. I am hoping to get it under 30 again, and that is in principle the only official goal I set down when it comes to my physical TBR at the beginning of the year, was to be under 30. So unofficially I wanted to be even lower, but officially I said 30 back then in the video, so that's the one I'll stick to, I guess, for now. But yeah, here's hoping I get there by the end of the month of September. But so, if you made it all the way to the end, wow, good for you. I may have cut this video into 2. Here's hoping I did so. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and see you guys in the next one. Bye!